new project, the Tonewood Sessions, and I'm here with Mark.
Hi Eddie,
Hi,
nice to
Mark.
see you.
Mark Reeder, owner and operator of this fabulous studio, Tonewood Recording Studios, here in Liverpool. You got your guitar in hand, Mark?
I have, never go anywhere without my guitar.
Well,
That's my motto anyway.
how long have you been playing guitar?
Gosh. Started when I was about 11, 12 I think. I got my first guitar for Christmas one year. And never regretted it since, just never stopped playing really. Just,
You
long time ago.
you got your first guitar when you were 11 or 12.
Yeah.
Was that a birthday present or
It
Christmas
was
present?
Christmas present.
Ah,
Christmas present. So I fumbled around for the first year trying to learn bits and pieces, and then probably I think when I was about 12, 13, I really took it seriously.
Yeah.
And that's when I started playing, and within a few months I was in a band and we were actually doing gigs. So from
Do you
13,
remember the first chords or the first things you learned?
I can remember the very first thing I ever learned to play.
Go on.
The very first thing I ever learned to play on the guitar was... That was the very first thing I could ever play when I was about 11. Was Sunshine of Your Love, but the Jimi Hendrix version. And after I went down to a friend's house and he introduced me to chords, and I went out one night round to my friend's house, and when I came home at the end of the night I said to my mum and dad, oh look what I can do, and I played Paper Roses by Marie Osmond, the entire thing. So I'd learned from playing that and didn't know any chords whatsoever to sort of going in and doing the... etc, etc, etc. But there was, I think it was the chorus. I played that fluently to my mum and dad, who's absolutely just sat there with their mouths open, completely gobsmacked. Because
how long did it take you to get to that stage then? From when you unwrapped your Christmas present on that Christmas morning?
Well, when I went to my friends, literally, it was probably 2 or 3 hours.
Really?
Yeah, 2 or 3 hours, and I'd gone from playing Sunshine of Your Love, which I'd learned from another friend.
Right.
That was the only thing I could play, and then went to a friend's house, and within a couple of hours I could play the whole of Paper Roses fluently with 4 chords.
That's incredible.
Yeah, which amazed everybody, especially me actually. Cause,
I guess that's the thing about a guitar though, is it's one of those instruments, and I'm not putting down any of these other instruments because I think that there's some fabulous instruments out there, and you've got to put the practice in to get good at it, obviously. But with the guitar, it's one of those instruments that you can pick up and more or less start strumming a chord or hitting a couple of familiar sounds that aren't too painful to the ear, I suppose.
No, well, not at all. I mean, I teach a lot of musical instruments and guitar. You'd be surprised, things like Achy Breaky Heart, a famous country song I'm sure you're familiar with, Ed, which is basically 2 chords. It's just D and A7.
Right.
And it's so easy to do. And that's the entire song, basically. That's
2 chords.
2 chords, 2 very, very, very simple chords.
I mean,
so if someone has got the aptitude to play music, they can pick that up incredibly quickly and play a song. It's not hard to do.
That's encouraging, isn't it? When you're thinking about maybe learning an instrument or giving an instrument to your child for a birthday or a Christmas present, or encouraging them to play something.
Yeah.
To be creative in that way.
It's not hard to do. And I think the beauty of the guitar is it's very easy to play something very simply and make it sound good. But it's also one of the hardest instruments to actually master.
Yes.
And that's the secret. It's you can take the guitar to whatever level you want to.
Yeah.
And as long as you're comfortable with it, that's fine. That's entirely up to you. You know, people like George Harrison, he wasn't the best guitarist in the world, but what he did at the level he was at was just incredible.
Why? Why is that?
He took it to a level where he was comfortable, and he just explored that level, and he came up with some beautiful guitar solos, some very, very interesting guitar riffs.
But he's probably not the person that you would think as being one of the greats in guitar playing. I mean, if you said to me, name a great guitarist, I'd say, Eric Clapton.
Eric Clapton, classic example.
Yeah.
Eric Clapton. Now, Eric Clapton, I didn't discover Eric Clapton until sort of later on, really. I missed out on all his early days, or my early days especially, because I could have learned so much from him. Because, again, he does things simply, but with incredible...
We've got some work going on outside by the sounds of things.
Yeah, as usual. That's all. It's good. This is only a test, isn't it? You know?
It's live, folks.
Yes, this is live. Yeah, but you know, Eric Clapton, he again, you wouldn't say he was the best. He's not the most technical guitarist in the world. He's not the best guitarist in the world by far, but he's probably the most interesting guitarist in the world, and probably the most famous guitarist in the world, because he reaches people. What he does touches people, and that, at the end of the day, is what is important with the guitar. You need to reach people, and you know, you look at people, you know, that you would say, oh yeah, they're fantastic guitarists. People like Yngwie Malmsteen and Stevie Vai and Joe Satriani and people like that, and they're all amazing players that can do so many technical things that would just blow your mind away. But the average person doesn't comprehend it. It's over their heads. It's completely...
And you can, as you say, you can take it to whatever level you feel you want to go to. And you obviously took it to another level.
I took it again. I've done the same thing. I've taken it to maybe it's a higher level than a lot of other people might have done, but that was through personal choice. And to me, I took it to a level where I felt I was pushing myself, but I was also could do enough to keep me interested in it. And I'm at a comfortable level, but I know there's a million guitarists out there that absolutely blow me away, and it doesn't bother me in the slightest, because I know that what I can do, I'm enjoying, and that's the thing. It's being able to enjoy the level that you're at.
It is, isn't it? It's
you can't, if you keep pushing and pushing. That's obviously it's personal choice if you want to do that, but you know, I wouldn't knock anybody for doing that. But for me, I don't have any grand delusions about being a fantastic guitarist. I just want to play the guitar and enjoy it.
And I think that goes without saying, doesn't it? And it shows in your playing.
Yeah,
I've seen you play many times, and you clearly it's a pleasure to you.
Yeah, I love it. I still do to this day, you know.
And feel it, and that's the thing about music.
It's feel. Yeah. It's all feel. Yeah. It's all feel, and it's all light and shade.
Yeah.
That is, to me, is the most important thing in music: light and shade and feel. Everything else is irrelevant, because people physically can be better guitarists because they've got longer fingers. I only have short fingers. I'm not. I struggle with a lot of... I did classical guitar for many years, and I struggled.
I have the same problem. I mean, as I play guitar too, and I've come late to the game playing guitar in later years, but I look at my fingers and think, they don't look like they should fit on the fretboard. No. But it's not a problem, right? You can make it work for you.
You work around it, and your classic example is people like Django Reinhardt. You look at Django Reinhardt, an absolutely unbelievable player, and he had two fingers that weren't working.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was obviously a gypsy jazz player, and he lived in a gypsy caravan in his early days with his family, and apparently the caravan went on fire, and in the fire his two fingers were damaged, so these two fingers were pretty much fused together, so he couldn't use them.
Wow.
So anything that Django did, he did with two fingers. So he would
made
go
a sound out of that.
And that was his style, but he made his style out of the fact that was how he could do it.
Yeah.
So when with Django's chords, most of his chords, like we would do like a whole thing chord, he would be playing a chord like that.
Well, is it right? Hendrix plays left-handed.
Yes.
But strings upside down.
Yes, because to get a left-handed guitar, especially in them days, it's something like 10% dearer to make a left-handed guitar.
And so he learned playing a guitar that way.
Yeah,
and that then became his way of playing a guitar.
And other interesting guitarists as well, like Jeff Healey. He was blind, So he was given a guitar in his early days by his parents, and he'd never seen anybody playing a guitar, so he didn't know. So to him, he put the guitar down on his lap like that, and that's how he played it.
Oh right, okay.
Which is rather weird for anybody like me that's used to playing it in the conventional way. But he didn't know because he'd never seen it. So therefore, he developed this amazing style, completely bizarrely in an unorthodox way.
Yeah,
but he took it to such a level where, he's been classed as one of the top blues players. Or he was one of the top blues players. Sadly, passed away a few years ago. But he was an amazing player with so much feel and passion.
Yeah.
And he played the guitar technically wrong because he'd never seen anybody play the guitar, and to him that just seemed a natural way.
But who says it's wrong?
Well, that's what I mean. Who said it's wrong? It's if it works for you, why not? But you look like people like Jimi Hendrix. They have great big long, like what they call pianist fingers, where you've got great big massive long spindly fingers. Jimi Hendrix had massive hands,
right?
Really long fingers. Now he could, to him the guitar was so easy for him to do because his fingers would stretch. The likes of me, if I tried to do the same thing as Hendrix, I couldn't physically do it because my fingers aren't big enough.
No.
So I have to adapt the way I play it to something different.
Yeah, and I found that too in my limited way of being able to play the guitar. Is I can hit some chords and then other chords that I just think, I can't make that.
Yeah.
But I make it work somehow with a different chord pattern.
And that's the beauty of the guitar. You can
make
it work.
It's versatile like that.
It's very, very versatile. It's the one instrument you can say, that if you wanted to play one instrument and somebody said what instrument,
and it's portable.
It's very portable. It's very light and portable.
It's not a grand piano.
No. Double bass, don't go down the double bass route. If you want something easy, harmonica or piccolo,
or
something
bagpipes.
You can stick in your top pocket and walk away. That's what you want.
I remember the bagpipes is the famous one, isn't it? Giving the neighbours a headache and. The violin is another one. Learning to play the violin.
Violin, when it's played properly, is one of the most beautiful instruments. It's such a passionate instrument. But when you're learning it, it's an absolute nightmare.
So guitar is a good option, isn't it?
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
Very,
you
very
teach
good.
guitar?
Yes, I teach
here
guitar.
in your studios?
Yes, I certainly do.
Yeah.
And it's not difficult to play something very quickly and simply that sounds great.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of the guitar. It sounds good. And you can then take it, you can develop it to your own standards, and
It's also, I think, for me, my experience has been that it's one of those instruments that I was able to take lessons to learn the basics and to get to a level of proficiency and competence, and then you can also use your own time to just practice and self-teach in some ways.
And it really is 90%.
A mixture of.
It's a 90% practice. That's it. The 10% inspiration, 90% perspiration, as they say. And you'll only be as good as the hours that you put in. So that's why really, people over the years have said to me about certain guitar players, and is he better than him or is he better than him? And you can honestly say with hand on heart that any guitar player that gets past a certain level, you can't judge. You can't say he's better than him or he's better than him, because the amount of time, when you know yourself how many hours you've put in to get to the level you're at, you see other guitar players who are brilliant, and you know how many hours it's taken them to get there. So that is the important thing, that you think they're all brilliant and they're all equally as brilliant, and no one's as good as no one's better than anybody else. You're just different from other people.
The old phrase of when you see the concert pianist playing a beautiful piece of music, and you say, "God, I'd give my life to play like that."
He has.
Exactly. He probably has.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I read and I hear also that those accomplished musicians put in hours and hours of practice, even now. Like the likes of Elton John, will practice playing the piano. Yeah. And you think, well, do you need to?
Yeah, well,
but you do. You do, right?
You need to keep standards. I mean, a prime example, I did many years ago. I did a lot of stuff for BBC television, and I worked on a program called Body Talk, and I was told I was going to be in a band with like Alec Dankworth and Bill Lesage and Alan Ganley, and it terrified the life out of me. These are like top world-class top jazz musicians, and I was way out of my depth, way out of my depth, but I was thrown in the deep end, And luckily, I had about 3 months before. Now, a lot of it was to do with sight reading as well. So not only did I have to be up to scratch as a guitar player, but I had to be able to sight read as well. So literally for 3 months before the job, I practiced for 8 hours a day, 7 days a week, non-stop, literally non-stop, 7 days a week, 8 hours a day, sometimes even more.
Yeah.
And by the time I got to do the job, I was up to speed.
Yeah.
I was fine. But if I hadn't put those hours in, I wouldn't have been able to do the job, and I'd have made a fool of myself, you know. So,
but an athlete does the same.
An athlete does the same. Footballers do the same. They're all the same.
Yeah.
You know, you only get out of it what you put into it.
In fact, it's the Olympics is one for me where you see the world stage is the Olympics. You know, what comes around once every 4 years.
Yeah.
And the 4 years behind is the athlete training day in, day out, just for, in some instances, the 100-meter sprint is a 10-second stage. 4 years.
It's 4 years to get to that stage.
Yeah. So it is. It's practice and putting in the hours, isn't it?
And it's being dedicated, which is the hardest part, because it's so difficult. It's because life gets in the way. You've got other things to do in life, you know, and it's hard when all of a sudden you've got to put. But it's a working day.
If you're going to be a professional musician, then you've got to treat it as a profession, haven't you? Absolutely. And if you don't want to do that, then go and get another job. Go and do something else, because you've got to be dedicated. Because every successful musician, there's 10,000 waiting around the corner to take his job. You know. Yes. It's a cutthroat industry.
Yes.
For me, I mean, I enjoy it as a pastime, as a hobby. You can treat it as a hobby as well.
Oh gosh,
It depends, as you say, depends on whether you want to go professional and whether you want to make a career out of it. And you have done.
I have. I've been one of the lucky ones who's spent my life really. I did an apprenticeship when I left school, and as soon as I'd finished my apprenticeship, I was an electrical engineer, and as soon as I finished, it was back into the music game. And I've been at it ever since. And
here you are today with your own studios.
Here I am today with my own studio, which was always my ambition. Is one day I'll have my own recording studio and being a successful band. And luckily that's happened. And
it's not your only project though, is it? The studio?
Oh gosh, no, far from it. No. I love the studio. Obviously, I love producing music for people and recording people, playing instruments for them, and getting a chance to play other instruments as well, because I play the drums, so I'll session on drums, I'll play bass, I'll play congas, I'll play keyboards, whatever.
Well, you know something really good about just acoustic guitar and
something really organic about it. I like that. I like the simplicity. There's no arrangements to get in the way. There's no other instruments propping up. It's honest. It's very honest, and that's what I think I love about acoustic guitar. It's just an honest performance, because you have to put the song across from your own passion, and there's nothing to hide it. There's nothing to distract you from it. With a lot of pop records, there's so many things going on in the background that even if the song's not particularly good, it might be a particular musical hook. There could be some kind of a beat that gets you. There's so many things within the music. And don't get me wrong, that's got its own place, and I do that for people. I can put all those things in if that's what they would need. But I am a great fan of if you can pick an acoustic guitar up and play a song and make it sound good, it's a good song.
Well, you do a few different projects. There's the Strider's Acoustic Jam Nights.
It Stamps too every Thursday. That's a good one. That's been going for 12 and a half years now. Been doing that one. Yeah.
And that's a place where people play acoustic music, right?
Absolutely, yeah. They come along, they get up. I bring spare guitars and bass and tambourines and things, and people just come along and they just get up and play. They can jam with us. They can have a great time, and it's just a wonderful night of music,
And your passion for music. More recently, you've just started this project, which is the Waterloo and Crosby Songwriters Association.
Yes, the Waterloo and Crosby Songwriters Association. Yeah. There was just so many, especially youngsters who didn't know where to go, didn't know what to do about the songs.
This is their own songs,
They're
their own
so,
music.
you know, they write songs and they write them in the bedroom, and then they don't do anything with them, you know, and people don't get to hear them. And there's some great songs going around there at the moment, you know, there's some great young songwriters coming through, but they're just not getting a chance to be heard. So I set up the Waterloo and Crosby Songwriters Association to try and help young people to basically just get the songs heard and just give them a reason to actually write them, you know. So obviously we put on a songwriters night, which we're doing at the first Tuesday of every month at Stamps 2.
I've been to it. I've performed at it.
Yes,
it's a great venue.
Yeah,
it's I can vouch for it. It's a great place for many reasons to try out your own material. For me, to gain confidence and to get feedback from the audience that generally are other musicians. Which for me is a double-edged sword, because you know that they're accomplished musicians, but then you're also going to get a pretty kind of honest answer, aren't you?
Yeah, and believe me, you know, I for many years, because it's all I've done is perform for such a long time, and I've performed at the Empire, I've performed on live television. It never phases me. I've been doing it all my life, and it's anybody doing a job. You know, you do it because it's what you do, and you're happy to do it, and you've got confidence in what you're doing. But those songwriters' nights, they terrify the life out of me.
Really?
They terrify me. When
you
I
wouldn't
go
think
on,
it.
no, I hide it well, but there's something really scary about, I suppose, exposing your passion in that way, where you do cover versions, and that's fine, because you're just copying somebody else's passion, and as long as you do a good version, you know it's a tried and tested song, you know people like the song, they've heard it, you know, and it's safe. And I think we all fall into that safety net and think, well, this is going to work because it's been proved. But with your own songs, you've got to write something and then have the confidence to go out and say to people, look, I've written this song myself, and what do you think of it? You know, because that's the end of it. People are going to like it or they're going to hate it, and they're going to let you know.
You say it terrifies you, but it is actually
terrifying.
a very safe environment for that process to happen, isn't it?
It is, because everybody's terrified.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of it. Every single person you speak to on that night, they're all in the same boat. And as you say, that is such a lovely position to be in, because you get up and you're terrified, but you know that everybody else is the same. So it makes you more supportive towards them.
But you've got to try your material somewhere, right?
Exactly, you know. And the good thing about the Stamps 2 one is that everybody that's in there is in the same boat, and because of that, everybody is so encouraging. So you do your own song, and they all clap and cheer, and they make you feel great about yourself, and that is what it's all about. Because if you're getting confidence from other people who are writing songs, then you can't go wrong. You know, you can't go wrong. And
I've enjoyed it. It started just a few months back. It's going strong, isn't it?
It's going very strong. And, you know, when you've got the likes of like Billy Kinsley and Kenny Parry and Rob Shepley coming along to it, you know, you thinking
these are local. These Liverpool heroes, aren't they?
You know, obviously Rob's with the Philharmonic Orchestra. You know, he's worked with Paul McCartney twice, and he's worked with some of the top people in the world. And you know, he comes down and he's the same. Rob, he gets nervous. He said himself, he's terrified. You know, getting up to do. He's worked with some of the big.
It's both encouraging and interesting. That
it is.
From my point of view, I class myself as a novice musician and a bit of a dabbler, but to hear of these professionals that also feel the same way is interesting.
Because you're not used to doing your own stuff. You're exposing yourself by saying to people, like, I've written this song, listen to it, what do you think? It's, you know, it's like being a kid, you know, you draw a picture and you want everybody to say well done, you know, and you show the picture to everybody and you can see people sort of looking, going, oh, right, okay, it's very nice, you know. But as
a child, when you think of young children at primary school, they are full of enthusiasm. They throw all their energy into anything without any fear whatsoever of failure or criticism.
Failure
it's as we get older that we learn about criticism, we learn about things that we don't like that get said to us, maybe bullying or whatever it is. That all starts to impact on us, and we then begin to retreat from that childhood enthusiasm, excitement, and I think that's what you've got to get over, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think when you become an adult, especially, you have professional critics, and it's their job to criticise you, whether it needs criticism or not. They have to justify their existence, so people will then feel that it's right to criticise you, and then other people, they'll criticise you just because they want to feel important themselves, or they're trying to big themselves up by putting you down, which sadly there's a lot of that goes on in the world, and
but the Waterloo and Crosby
no,
Songwriters Association, safe environment,
and everybody there, it's wonderful because everybody's in the same boat, and they are so encouraging, such wonderful people, and such great songs, and some great songs come out of that songwriters night.
Definitely.
And as I say, when you got people like Billy Kinsley, who's been there twice, he was at the Mersey Beats, he was still with the Mersey Beats actually, and Liverpool Express, he's had loads of top 10 hit singles, and he's been there, he's done it, he hung around with the Beatles, he knows Paul McCartney personally, and all these, and then next thing he's sitting
Liverpool
in
is a city that's produced a huge amount of talent over the years.
So many things.
Musical talent.
There's been so many fantastic bands come out of Liverpool, and performers, actors. Every year, you think, obviously the 60s with the Beatles, and
that elevated the city to the worldwide stage.
Yes,
Liverpool
was on the map because of that. You got Jerry and the Pacemakers, who had like 3 #1 hits on the run and so on. So they're the obvious ones, like the Undertakers and people like that, who all did great things.
Yeah.
And then suddenly, you get back into the 80s, and then all of a sudden you got like the Mighty Ward and all that
Echo and the Bunnymen.
Echo and the Bunnymen. There was just so many bands around at that time that really did very, very well, and were in the charts, had top 10 hit singles, and then later on, again, not long ago, people like the Zootons and people like that, and the River City People, and there's so many amazing talented people who's come out, actors and presenters, people like Ken Dodd, comedians,
and
the
Robinson.
list goes, Anne Robinson,
Paul O'Grady.
The
list is endless, isn't it?
It really is, and Cilla Black and people like that, all.
It's a melting pot of culture, really, isn't it?
It really is.
And promoting the arts and promoting everything to do with performance and the arts, really.
And I think I don't know why that is. I think it's just obviously Liverpool's always been a city that has struggled from the early days. I mean from the being a dock, a sort of waterfront city, with the docks, the dock workers, no one had a permanent job, so people came down every day and they waited in the queue, and they either could feed the family that day or they couldn't, depending on how much work was there, how many ships needed unloading. So people learned to survive. They had to find other ways of surviving, and I don't know whether that's just what's made Liverpool people stronger in a way, where they haven't had it easy. They haven't had that industry where there's regular jobs, and even to this day, it's still, Liverpool's obviously thriving at the moment, and it's
a different city now from when I first visited it. I mean, I live in and around Liverpool. I have done now for the best part of 16 years. I'm one of those who's come from the south to the north, and in the beginning it was a city that looked like it had been through depression and hardship.
You wouldn't believe. Well, I've lived in Liverpool
it's
all my life.
It's a thriving city. Really
I look back to the 70s and 80s in Liverpool, and the 70s and 80s in Liverpool was a terrible time. It really was. There was so much depression here. There was so many.
You can't change history.
You can't, but
you can learn from it.
You can learn from it, and now you go around Liverpool now, and it's just an amazing place.
It is. Yeah.
It really is, and I have people coming over. I produce stuff from people in America and Canada and stuff, and they come over to record here, and they're just amazed about how wonderful.
Your studio here in the Baltic Triangle,
it's
right?
in the part of the Baltic Triangle, yes, which is the creative hub of Liverpool now. There's so many creative industries in this Baltic Triangle that we all try to support each other, and more and more people are moving into the area, and it's and this has gone. If you think, we're down the bottom end of Parliament Street, and this started obviously as a merchant's place, and then obviously it became.
These are old warehouses that were once taking care of the cotton and the cranes.
Yeah,
and
I think this was a tea warehouse. This particular one, yeah. And it's, as I say, it's a massive place. It had been derelict for so many years, and then it got European money and they renovated it, and it's a fantastic place, and it's just so many. It's full of so many creative people.
Home to Tonewood Recording Studios.
And home to Tonewood Recording Studios, even better. Yeah, I love being here. Such a wonderful vibe. Even just looking around the room with all the original brickwork. If those bricks could tell a story, gosh,
that's true.
It's
Yeah, I wonder what they would tell.
And these oak beams and cast iron,
and then fast forward 150, 200 years or however long it is, it's like now it's a recording studio.
Yeah, how bizarre
a place
is that?
where people come to create stuff.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. And what a vibe. What a
yeah.
great vibe it is. Yeah, wonderful.
Well, you've been involved in many things, both
have,
TV, producing shows such as Bitsy.
Bitzer.
Bitzer.
Yeah, Bitzer. Kids program. I was musical director and music producer on Bitzer.
And Words and Pictures.
Yes,
and
Words and
We
Pictures.
Are the Champions.
Wrote music and produced music for those shows. Presenter as well.
Presenter of Body Talk.
Body Talk, the Antics Roadshow.
Oh, the Antics Roadshow.
And I even appeared in the Broom Cupboard with Toby Anstis as well, believe it or not, to sing the theme tune to Bitzer live, which was great, because there's actually a clip of that on YouTube, which is quite amusing, because what happened was they set everything up, and I had headphones on, and the idea was they'd start the music, and then I would play along to the music in my headphones, but they would record me live playing it. So we went out, they said, right, there's about 5 million people watching this now, you're in front of 5 million people live.
No pressure.
Ready, no pressure there then. So I was just like, no problem, fine, go. And anyway, I heard the first riff of the song, and then everything went dead. Oh. And the sound engineer had switched the headphones off. So when it was like you're suddenly looking, this is live TV, there's 5 million people watching, and all of a sudden I've got nothing in my cans at all except the opening riff. So very quickly it was like, what you do? So I just... Okay, so I just carried on playing, but then obviously it's out of sync with the actual theme music because I've got no reference. Right. There's nothing there. I'm just doing it in my time. That's completely out of time.
And this has been caught on YouTube now.
This is on YouTube. It's caught on YouTube. You can see the disaster. And I think the sound engineer must have realised what was going on. So what he did was he took the music down. So it's just me singing it live for the show, and then when it went into the program, it was like, oh, hang on, what's going on? What's going on? I said, I've got nothing in the cans. It's all gone. And it's all of a sudden, you could just hear it. Oh, no, I'm so sorry. I've hit the wrong button. And I was like, no. So that was dead on live
TV
television.
Bloopers.
Yeah. So what they did was we did it at the end of the show as well. So there was a few different performers through that day singing. They invited all the people in who had written the theme tunes to actually come in and perform them live. So they made everybody else come in and just did the opening titles of the show, but I got to do the opening and the closing titles of the show because they realised that once they'd made this error that they allowed me to do the end of the show as well. So it worked out well in the end. It was good.
And you played lead guitar for people like PJ Proby?
Gosh, yes, at the Empire. Yeah, there was a big 60s show on there. There was all sorts of band. The Pete Best Band was on, and I can't remember. I think the Searchers were on, and there's a lot of the big old 60s band, and topping the bill was PJ Proby.
Yeah.
And he had a 9-piece band that they had been rehearsing for 2 months before the show. And on the way up from London, they stopped off at a service station in Birmingham. The guitarist got an epileptic fit, fell over, smashed his head, and got rushed to hospital. So when they arrived in Liverpool, they got to the Empire and said, well, we need a guitarist. So I got a call from the Empire saying, can you get down here and play guitar? So they needed someone that could read music and play with
You're a regular at the Empire because you've also been involved with the hit musical Tuppence Across the Mersey.
Tuppence Across the Mersey, that was a lovely show to be involved with, so I played lead guitar, I did all the lead guitar and melody parts, and played some acoustic guitar, played mandolin as well in the show. We did four seasons of that show, and there was 20 shows per season, so it was quite...
Your talents are wide and varied.
Thank you very much, Ed.
And you're also owner and operator of Tonewood Studios, record producer, editor, creative artist.
Whatever I can do. If it's involved with music, I'm involved. I just love to be around musicians and just be involved in other people's music. It's such a lovely thing to be able to be privileged to be in a position to do, and I love it.
And as I say, people can go to your website and...
Yes, at tonewood.co.uk.
Yeah.
And all the information's on there.
And Facebook.
And Facebook, obviously, we got a Facebook page, we got a Twitter page, on the Tonewood. And everything's going on is on there, yeah.
Well, that's great. Thanks for kicking us off with our very first Tonewood Sessions.
Yes, thank you, Ed. It's been very enjoyable.
In the famous studios of Liverpool, Tonewood Recording Studio.
Yeah.